So, kind of a big deal. I am at CVG Airport in Cincinnati, and I am going on an international trip to London. I can't believe it. I'm going to vlog as I am able, but the main reason I am going is for a retreat in England, all about internal family systems and tending to our parenting parts. And so I think that this will be a really great experience. The goodbye was hard with the kids. There were a lot of tears, and I am worried and I am scared. I know that they're gonna be fine, but I've never been away from them this long, so feels like a big deal. Right now I'm just waiting for food, and I'm like 2.5 hours before the plane takes off. So stay tuned if you want to come with me to London.
The toilets. It has smoke detectors in them. Gerald, it's you. For too long I've kept my true feelings hidden, but now...
Personal devices should have the flight safe mode feature enabled now.
Handheld devices must be housed securely or placed into a pocket.
If you do lose your device within your seat...
So on this flight, I flew World Traveler Plus, which is British Airways Premium Economy, and that meant that I got these slightly nicer meals. This was a steak and potatoes. Honestly, the flavor was really good, but the meat was dry, but it was still fine for an airplane food. And then this is the next morning at the end of this long haul flight, just putting some moisturizer on to feel a little more human. Once I landed in Heathrow Airport and walked for a very long time, I got on the train for the Heathrow Express. I decided to take the Heathrow Express instead of the Elizabeth line, was the other one I considered. Heathrow Express is a little more expensive and faster, but if you buy tickets in advance, it's a little cheaper. And I did that because, particularly on the way home, it was going to take me right to the terminal that I needed versus having to walk a lot longer. And then at that point, I just felt like, let's simplify things. It's going to be my first time in a big new country doing something on my own. Let's simplify. So that's why I took the Heathrow Express. It was super great, easy experience after I got through customs. And then I ended up at this food hall that had this bao bun. It was like a fried chicken bao. I hadn't planned to stop anywhere right away because I was going to afternoon tea, but my data, my eSIM that I purchased from Mint Mobile, my carrier, wasn't activating correctly, and so I needed to be someplace with Wi-Fi so I could get maps and data and know what the heck I was doing over there. And so this ended up being one of the tastiest bites of food the whole trip, though. Once I got everything up and running, I walked to the Wallace Collection, which is an art museum where I was going to be having my afternoon tea. And the afternoon tea was absolutely incredible. So I thought that this would be a good way to kind of get my body moving after the long flight and everything. I will say I walked a ton. So here's the afternoon tea menu. And I was just so blown away. I actually discovered I like green tea thanks to this experience. So I got the sencha tea, and it was just beautiful here. You can see the interiors, how amazing it is. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I felt like it was a really high-end experience, but not as expensive as some of the other afternoon teas that are out there. A lot of the videos that I watched were from Love in London, and they had done a comparison of afternoon teas in the budget, mid-range, and high-end. And this was one of the ones that just caught my attention, and I would not change a thing. The food was so good. And then here I am trying scones with either the clotted cream or jam first. I think that one was the clotted cream and then the jam. So that was the opposite. I definitely like this one better, the cream and then the jam. The first one was the jam and then the cream. And you can see I like that one better. After this afternoon tea, I took the tube to Big Ben, also known as Elizabeth Tower. This was so beautiful. I actually teared up walking up the steps from the tube station, being greeted by this, famous landmark. It was such a big moment. Amazing. And then I sat for a while outside of the tower, and then this is my walk through St. James Park, which is a beautiful park that you can walk through to get to Buckingham Palace. It was a gorgeous sunny day. The weather was perfect. I had already walked so many miles at this point, but it was just beautiful, absolutely stunning. I'm just so glad at how this all worked out. I would not change a thing about my day in London. I think I planned the really most perfect itinerary, and I'm so glad that I was able to physically do all this walking. I did walk a lot in the 2 weeks leading up to the trip. I was really intentional about taking daily walks. It really helped. So you could see this park has tons of bird wildlife. Tower Bridge, Tower of London. We've seen a lot today. Tallest building in Western Europe, I think. The Shard. So here I am walking to our food tour, which, to be honest, was a little disappointing overall, but there were some good parts. I did get to see some of Borough Market, and several of the tastings were from there. Also, there's this wild mushroom risotto place I had seen in some YouTube videos that I really wanted to try, and having walked right by it, we were able to grab a sample. So that was nice. Also, these people walking in front of me are actually the only two other people on the tour, and they were from Columbus. So we had like this Ohio crew that was really fun. So that part was cool. And then this is one of the oldest pubs in London. And walking back into this alley, it felt like a step back in time. But overall, I think if I were to do it again, I would definitely probably do my own Borough Market food tour. The reason I wanted to do a curated one was because I knew I wouldn't be able to try everything because I'm just one person. So I really wanted tasting portions of everything, and I thought that would be a really good way to do it. But in general, I think there were probably some highlights of Borough Market that I would have liked to try that I didn't really get to. And then even the British Classics, it was a British Classics food tour. First thing was good, but it was just like an egg sandwich. There was really nothing remarkable about it. Fish and chips, I ended up having at the pub the night before, which was not my plan. I had wanted to get Indian food, but that didn't work out. But yeah, overall, I didn't end up getting many pictures. I kept forgetting to take pictures too. It really wasn't a bad tour, but I would probably do it a little different if I did it again. But I do think it fit in really well, and I think the idea of a food tour was a really great thing for the itinerary in general, since I had such a short time. So next, we are headed to Paddington Station, and that was my hotel. And I was just headed back there to grab my luggage and go to the train station to get ready for the retreat. Now we are to Saturday evening, and as I walk this peaceful river walk, I want to reflect back to the journey that brought me here. An international retreat to England, my first time anywhere in Europe, and only one or two other trips where I've been away from my kids in my 13 years of parenting. The decision to step away from home, from the daily rhythms of parenting, wasn't easy. But growth often asks us to step beyond our comfort zones, to trust that in tending to ourselves, we become more present for those we love. This trip was more than just a retreat. It was a chance to listen deeply to the parts of me that are always working, always holding, always giving. As parents, we are so attuned to the needs of our children that we often forget the parts of us that feel exhausted, unsure, or even guilty for wanting space. While this trip was motivated by the retreat, it became more about doing something like this by myself, for myself. Through internal family systems, I was reminded that each part of me, whether a nurturing caretaker, a protective planner, or a quiet, yearning self, deserves to be acknowledged with compassion. And as I walked through this English countryside, far from the familiar sights and sounds of home, I felt a deep gratitude, not just for this experience, but for the support that made it possible. My husband, steady and encouraging, held space for me to take this journey. He reminded me that caring for myself is not a departure from my role as a mother, but an investment in it. His support allowed me to be here, to listen, to grow, and in that, I feel immense gratitude. Parenting is a dance between showing up for our children and showing up for ourselves. This retreat was a reminder that when we tend to our inner world, we return home more whole, more present, more able to love from a place of fullness. I carry this lesson with me, that stepping away is sometimes the way we step closer to ourselves, to our families, and to the life we are creating with intention and care. After the retreat was over, I went to Bath and had my last night of the retreat there because my flight wasn't until Monday evening. So here I am on my way walking to dinner. I had booked a Sunday roast here at this Marlborough Tavern, and honestly, the atmosphere was lovely. However, I did not actually end up enjoying the roast. I got the pork belly. I wish I had gotten something different, but Sunday roast is a English tradition, and I thought since I'm there on Sunday, I should go to a pub and do that. And it was not great. And then here I am just walking through Bath. I was trying to get the lay of the land for the next morning when I was going to be doing a tour and also bringing my luggage and making sure that I was all set to go on the train to get back to the airport. So just checking it out here, listening to some street performers. That was really lovely, and had a great time doing this. Although I don't look like it here, but I promise I was having fun. So this is Bath Abbey, one of the famous buildings here, and this is the Roman baths. And we'll see more of that the next day. I come back here for a tour, but really beautiful architecture, as you can see, and just a really beautiful place. It's a small city. You can walk most places. Here's my included full English breakfast at the hotel the next morning. And then here is the tour of the Roman baths. This was so cool. One of the coolest museums I've ever been into. There's the bath, and what was really awesome is when I came home, I was kind of unloading some of our souvenirs, and my daughter, my 13-year-old, was like, "Oh my gosh, the Roman baths, I just learned all about that in Latin class." And she went on to tell me basically everything about what I had just walked through. So I was a little sad to have not had her there with me because I had no idea she had so much knowledge, and clearly that unit in school had really impacted her. But really cool to be able to connect in that way. And here's the hot spring at the bath. I think that's like the overflow spring. So just a really, really cool experience. My favorite part was walking through. They took you through like a day in the bath, and they have these cool projections where this is the gym area. So the people using it would have gone in the baths and then did their exercise. And I had just never seen projections like this at a, museum. And it was just very, very cool to watch. This was the most perfect ending to this trip, walking through Bath with music in the air and history all around me. This journey coming all the way here, exploring my parts, has been something I'll carry with me for a long time. I'm so deeply grateful for this experience, for the beauty of this place, and for all the support that made it possible. And somehow this moment, this walk, this music, it feels like the perfect ending to all of it. It was quiet and grounding and full of presence, and I'm so grateful to have been here. Thank you so much for coming on this journey.